Hello and welcome to the second and final part of our series on cherries. To begin, these cultivar descriptions are based on conditions in Ontario. Since these conditions are very specific to one environment, take what is said with a grain of salt. Before we begin, you should know that sweet cherries can be categorized into different groups. These groups are based on pollination, where one group cannot cross-pollinate with another member of that same group. One of my sources, Omafra, has a chart which explains this perfectly. I suggest clicking that link below after the video is finished. In the meantime, let's talk cherries. First, let's talk about sweet cherry cultivars. The first cultivar we'll talk about is Bing. Bing is a cultivar with a good quality fruit. It is, however, susceptible to a disorder called cracking. Cracking is what happens when cherries are ready to be harvested, but rain happens before it can be harvested. This results in the fruit taking up water. This causes the fruit to crack due to the sudden swelling of the fruit. The next cultivar is called Venus. Venus is a cultivar that produces large black cherries, but it has a tendency to produce too many fruit, causing the fruit to drop prematurely. Valeria is a seedling similar to Venus. In fact, it was born from the same tree. Valeria, however, has better flavor, a better yield, and better fruit spacing, preventing rot from happening in the fruit. This makes this cultivar better than Venus. The next cultivar is Van. Van produces medium-sized, good quality cherries. Van is also hardier than Bing and less susceptible to cracking. This cultivar cannot, however, pollinate Venus. The next cultivar is called Vandelay. Vandelay is a cultivar bred by breeding Van and Stella together. This resulted in the breeding of the cultivars Vandelay and Terra Nevi. This cultivar is self-pollinating and capable of producing large red cherries. Trees with too many fruit may produce smaller sized fruit under stress conditions. The next cultivar is Terra Nevi. Like the previous cultivar, it's a self-pollinated cherry with a high yield and good flavor. The next cultivar is called Vogue. Vogue is a cultivar that produces cherries with a small pit. It ripens 1 day later than Bing and is good for canning. Vogue is more crack resistant and has higher yield than Bing. In high yield years, the fruit sets in clusters and require careful spraying for brown rot control. Heddelfingen is the next cultivar on our hit list. It is a cultivar that produces large to medium black cherries that are resistant to cracking. This cultivar is the one that is most extensively planted in Ontario. These fruit early and are very productive. Next, let's talk about tart cherry cultivars. Tart cherry cultivars do not require a second cultivar to act as a pollen source because they can self-pollinate. The first cultivar we are talking about is called North Star. This is a small cultivar that's cold hardy and possibly resistant to leaf spot. The fruit on average ripen around July 23. The next cultivar is called Meteor. Meteor has all the same traits as North Star, but ripens 7 to 10 days after North Star, and is medium in height rather than small in height. Next on our hit list is the most important commercial sour cherry of Ontario. This cultivar is called Montmorency. This tree can be large in size due to low yields caused by viral infection. The way people deal with this problem includes using virus-free trees for propagation purposes, as well as the use of gibberellic acid and removing young trees showing viral symptoms. Next, we will be talking about cold hardy traits being bred into sour cherries in Saskatchewan. winter temperatures can get down to minus 40 degrees Celsius, requiring the breeding of more cold-hardy plants. This breeding process began in 1944 with Dr. Kerr, who bred cultivated sour cherry with the Russian ground cherry. In 1966, Dr. Stuart Nelson imported 500 seeds of the wild ground cherry. Some of the seedlings were variable in cold hardiness, indicating some crossbreeding between sour cherry and wild ground cherry. In 1982, the University of Saskatchewan absorbed the two breeding programs into the current breeding program. Using the seedlings of Dr. Kerr and Dr. Nelson, they bred a new cultivar designated SK Carmine Jewel. This cultivar was bred using one of Kerr's sour cherry ground cherry hybrids called Kerr's Easy Grow, and a sour cherry cultivar called North Star. SK Carmine Jewel as the best cultivar selected from that breeding program for commercial production. This cherry cultivar seems cold hardy down to zone 3 of the USDA cold hardiness zones. Stay tuned for the next series where we will talk about grapes. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Until next time, stay lit, fam.